Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacqs Scraps. Thanks for joining me today for part 3 of my Winterland mini album. In this video we will be finishing up the page design and decorating, adding our pages into the mini album, and any final touches. So let's get started. Now we're going to get started on page 3. I have gone ahead and adhered all of my pattern paper to the mats going forward. And now this should run a little bit quicker, I hope. So on this page we had created these little pocket flips. So for the fronts of the pocket, I'm using these two 4x4 journal cards. Yep, I didn't cut them down or anything. And then the mats that I used were 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So 2 journal cards, 2 mats if you're matting. And easily enough, these are just going to go on the fronts of our pockets. I'm going to fold this out. I think it might be easier to put it on. Now, one thing I've noticed using the double mats, it really makes everything so much more thick that even to put a tag in a pocket, it's just a little bit stiffer than if you only use, you know, the pattern paper without the mat. So if you were kind of wavering whether or not to do the matting, I just wanted to let you know some information about that. I don't know if Tiffany talks about it when she does the double matting, but it definitely makes everything so much more stiff. And I think I like the flexibility that just a single pattern paper gives you, especially putting items in a pocket. So, I don't know. I wanted to mention that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm liking the feel. I'm loving how this is making the whole album look. But will I do it again? Probably not an entire album, unless it's something really special. And maybe if I did, I might then make all my pockets a little bit more dimensional than what I've done here. You know, here I've just made them one dimension. And that's my only real complaint, is that it makes everything so much more stiff that you really can't get easily in and out of the pockets. So that's all I've noticed so far. Otherwise, I think it's nice and fun. I love how, like, wintry dirty that looks. Okay. For the backs of our pockets, you're going to need 2 mats. And these measure 7/8 by 4 1/8. And then 2 pattern papers are 3/4 by 4. This is your friend. You must get one of these. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the pocket by just adding glue down the sides. Laying that over. So see, I mean, before you could just slip something right in there, and now it's so tight. It takes some effort to get something in there. I imagine over time, it will stretch the pocket, but initially it's going to be tight. Okay, let's flip these over. Now we'll work on the inside here. Now you can use magnets on the back of here and under here if you want to do that. But the way that we're creating this is, I think we will be able to use like a journal card or something to put in here to be the closure. So that's what I'm going to do. So for the backs of our pocket flips, you'll need 2 pieces that measure 4 5/8 by 4 1/8 for the mat, and the pattern or color cardstock is which I've used is 4 1/2 by 4. So 2 and 2. For the left side of our page, you're going to need a mat, and this one you will need, or you will have to change the size of your pattern paper. So you could use the mat size that I'm about to give you for your pattern paper if you're not matting. Because what you want to do is make it large enough to go underneath the small little tuck spot that we're creating. Okay? So for those that are matting, it's 5 3/8 by 8 3/8. So if you're matting, that's what your mat would be. If you're going to just use pattern paper, that's the size that you want your pattern paper to be. Okay, for those that are matting, your pattern paper can be 4 3/4 by 8 1/4. That just saves a little bit on the pattern paper. So go ahead and put that down, and when we do, we're going to put it more toward the right side of the base page. So here is my score line. I'm going to be going pretty close to that, putting in my border around it. This was another of my favorite papers, the snowmen. I just love snowmen. They're so cute. Okay, that looks good. Now we can take our piece, which I believe we cut before, and that was 1 1/2 by 8 1/2. We're going to glue on 3 sides and lay that down on top. So when you do that, you're going to put it close to where our score line is, but don't go over it. Okay. Now, you know what we could do is we could just go ahead and mat this before we lay this down. I think that'd be the best way to do it. The mat is 1 3/8 by 8 3/8, and then the pattern paper itself is 1 1/4 by 8 1/4. So it should go to the edge, top and bottom, right up to the fold or the score line there. Don't go over it. So make sure everything's smooth when you put that down. There should be no overages. So let's try this out. Let me put, yeah, holds it perfectly. Okay, I like that. This is just turning out so cute. Let's flip this over and we'll work on page 4, or the back of page 2. We have that fun journal card waterfall. We're going to start with the back piece first, And the matte piece measures 6 3/8 by 8 3/8. The pattern paper is 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. Remember when you're laying this down to not go over the score line over here on this side. Gosh, if I'd have done this with Cartavilla paper, oh my gosh, that would have been so thick. So if you're using really thick paper, I'm not sure you'd want a double mat. That's just my opinion. But you'd have to ask the queen. Okay, that looks good. On the backs of all of our waterfall pieces, I'm leaving blank. You could add a pattern paper there as a mat if you wanted to, or a solid color cardstock. That's up to you. I'm just not electing to do that. So for the front, my mat is 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, and then I have a 4 by 6 journal card. For our next one, the mat is 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then our journal card is 4 by 4. Oh, poo. I do this every time. We'll have to go back. You guys are absolutely going to kill me again. I forgot about the closure. I'm so sorry. I mean, you're almost better at watching the video first, seeing what errors I make, and then doing the video. Okay. Now, for our last little 2 by 2 area, we have a mat that is like 2 1/16 by 2 1/16, and then my 2 by 2 I cut down a little bit. So this is, wow, about 1 and the one after 7/8. Hold on. I'm going to use my little ruler cheat sheet here that I created, and 15/16. So 1 15/16. That's what it comes up to. Sorry about that, because we made this 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Yeah. Guess I wanted to have more around it. It should have been, yeah, that looks, I like the black on this one. It should have been 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and then you would have your pattern paper be 2 by 2. Try that, see if it looks good. I apparently cut mine to where I would just show more black, which I don't know why. Now, before we attach this, we need to talk about the closure, but I want to have an informational pause for a moment. So I created these little rulers, and I love this. We have 1 inch represented here, and it tells you all of the measurements in inches for a 1 inch area. When you flip it to the back, you have points, fractions, and decimals, so that this can further help you understand how to read the ruler. And I will be giving these away free in a future video. I have a whole video planned where I kind of tell you an update and give you some freebies and such. So that is coming, and I hope you like this. I made one in pink as well. I use this all the time when I'm planning. I grab this because it's easier to look at this than it is a ruler sometimes, or one that has all these measurements. It's a lot bigger and it's a lot easier and portable. You could put it in your notebook, carry it with you. I have this in so many notebooks right now, it's crazy, but I use this all the time. So that's coming. But back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, so what I've done is taken a tab punch and I punched out a tab. I'm going to add it to this small one here. And then I also punched out a tab where I actually created two. And the way to do that is to fold your paper before you punch it and then add your paper right up to the edge and then punch. You don't put it all the way through like you normally would, because if you do that, you just end up with two flat punches, right? So you have to do it right to the edge. Don't let it get cut. And then it will punch out as two. So I'm going to fold this over. The idea of making the two is I was going to tuck one underneath. Oh, look, I'm still able to get in there. Hot dog. So that's how that will go. But what I want to do first is to punch some holes and put a eyelet on them. And then we're going to add some string. I'm using the twine from Country Craft Creations. I got to dig that out too. So I'll be right back. I have my eyelet puncher. I've got two 1/8 inch eyelets. And I got my twine. It's the pink one from Country Craft Creations. And I'm just going to put these in there. I'm going to first find the center of this. Just want to have a marker. So I'm going to punch my hole first. And I'm going to put it in the center there. I already put this on 1/8 of an inch here at the top. And now I'm just going to, ooh, I can't see. I can't see, hold on. I'm gonna have to do this off camera because I can't see. I need to put some light under there. I'll be back. Okay, so I have punched my holes. I have added my eyelets to both of these. Now, I'm telling you, I am not with it in this video. I meant to first put my string in the hole and then my eyelet and then punch it. Then that way you don't have to tie it like this. But I forgot. Yet again. So I'm just going to tie it like that. I mean, that still looks cute. I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive down in this area so we can attach it to our little 2x2 down there. And I cut about 12 inches or so of twine or jute twine. Just centered that a little bit on there. You could have put pattern paper over this, but I'm kind of liking the look of the black for this page. I don't know why, I'm liking it. And for this, I'm going to add adhesive on the front and the back. And then slip that down. In there. So this is actually right at the top of the cardstock. Let's see. Yep. Boy, I couldn't plan that any better. Let's clean this up a little bit. And go ahead and put that down. To close this, we just put it through the bottom. And you can bring it up and tie a little bow. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I like just doing that too. But it needs to be tighter. Oh, that's cute, just like that. Now you could leave the string long, or you could cut it off so that it's not so long. For right now, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it. Maybe not. I like that. It makes it a little bit easier to undo, you know, when it just being looped and not tied in a bow. So that is our 4th and 3rd page. Now we're on to the last page. Yay! Okay, we're on the 3rd page in our album. If you're counting front and backs, this is page 5. And we're going to start out with this area here. This is a flip pocket. Now, when I cut this out, I didn't like that there was so much black on each side, so bear with me. This is a little bit OCD. So I cut these really small strips to go on either side of this. Now, you don't have to do that. You could just cut one large piece. Because see, the problem is, it fit perfectly this way. It was the width that made it off. So that's why I just cut little strips. So you guys do what you want to do. I'll give you the measurements and you can go from there. So my mat is 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then my journal card that I selected was a 4 by 4. And these little strips are about, they're actually less than 1/4 of an inch by 3 7/8. Yeah. So if I looked at my handy dandy little thingy here, it's 5/16. That's what they look like. But let's see. If you wanted to add another color cardstock underneath the mat, it would be 4 1/2 inches wide. You could add height to that if you wanted, but then you're not going to see any of the black. So I would just keep it at 4 1/8, at 3 7/8 inches in height, and doing the 4 1/2 across. That way, it doesn't interfere with that look. If you get my meaning. Okay, we're on the home stretch. All right, so I'm just going to center this on the page. I do try to put it as close as I possibly can to the mat. So, and if you remember, when I created this, I forgot to mat it on the Glimmer matte cardstock, right? The white cardstock. Well, it was really driving me crazy since everything else is matted, double matted. So I went and I cut little strips to go on the edge so I would have that look. And now it's all perfect. You can't even really tell. And now it's all matching the rest of the album. I'm loving that. That's the OCD. Other people would just let that go. But you know what? I don't got it in me to do that. Okay. So for these two areas here, we're going to add a piece there, and we're making this into a pocket. But for it to stay closed, we're going to use a magnet. So you'll need a set of magnets. For the back of the pocket, you're going to need a mat that measures 4.5 by, oh my goodness, it's a little over 7/8. So it would be 15/16. See, I told you that thing was handy. And then the color cardstock that I use is 4 3/8 by, oh my goodness, what is it? 3/4. And I'm just going to put that at the back of the pocket. Now you may wonder why I have the color cardstock shorter than the mat, and that's because it's just going to get covered by the pocket anyway, so it didn't need to be the full width of the mat. I'm going to go ahead and close my pocket by adding adhesive to the two sides. Okay, now we're ready to add on our pattern paper for the front. The mat for this piece is 4.5 by 3 3/8. The pattern paper is 4 3/8 by 3 1/4. This piece, the mat measures 6 3/8 by 3 3/8. The pattern paper measures 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. Great. I always like to test out my magnets first. Okay, now we have our two pockets. Now remember, we needed to keep this one open. Okay, let's start with the top pocket and work our way down. Now remember, even though I started to add this, we lifted up the top so I could put my top pattern pieces underneath there. Or you may have left your pocket off. Hopefully I told you to do that. It's a lot easier. Now on these two pieces, I had previously cut my pattern paper, and then I decided to do the matting. So my matting is shorter, and it's really not going to matter because you're not going to see the bottom of the matting piece on this design. So if my pattern paper is longer than my mat, it's okay. I was probably using scraps and didn't want to cut new pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the measurements that I'm using, but if that bothers you, just correct it by adding on the amount to square it off. It didn't matter to me. It's not going to be shown. So this mat measures 6 3/8 by 1 7/8. So if you were going to correct it, you could make it 2 1/8 across if you want to bring the mat all the way down. But like I said, it's really going to be wasted. It's not going to be seen. So mine is 1 7/8. The pattern paper measures about 6 1/4 by 2. Okay, so I'm just going to put this underneath my pocket. Hopefully you've left yours undone. Just going to line these up. Here it is, just so that you can see. Okay. And now I'm going to go back through here and add glue to the side and glue this shut. Creating my pocket. Now we can open this up and we're going to add this piece on to the front of that pocket. Here again, I did the same thing. My pattern paper is larger than my mat, but the mat measures 6 3/8 by 3 3/8. My pattern paper measures 6 1/4 by 3 1/2. Now when I put this down, I'm going to line it up with the piece that I just put down so that they're all in alignment. Just going down, leaving my spacing of the black around the pattern paper and mat. Now we're going to add adhesive to the two sides of our front piece, right, to turn this into a pocket. And then we have our two pockets. And that's that page. Let's work on the last page, page 6. We're going to start with the top piece, and I'm just going to open it because I found that so much easier to put the pattern paper down. So on this, I used a mat that measures 4 5/8 by 4 3/8. My pattern paper measured 4 1/2 by 4 1/4. Oh look, I didn't even know that. Didn't even notice that when I was putting this together. Now for this one, I wanted to use one of the chipboard pieces. I thought this Stay Warm and Cozy would be super cute. When you put that down and you have the little faux snow around it, it just looks adorable. I love it. So it's no longer a photo spot, but you could add like a little 1x1 photo on the sides or a long one. But sometimes it's okay to just have a nice little resting spot for your eyes. Don't always have to have everything be a photo area. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the back side of that since we're here. And you'll need a piece of mat that measures 4 5/8 by 4 3/8. Your pattern paper is 4 1/2 by 4 1/4. Should have been the same measurements as the front. Oh, hold the boat. I was going to put a magnet here. Okay, since I put the magnet down, let's switch over here and add this down so we can get that covered. So you're going to need a piece of mat that is 3 1/2 by 8 3/8. And then your pattern paper is 3 3/8 by 8 and by 8 1/4. Now here's another one of those papers that I flipped around. It's supposed to be like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. I liked it better this way. So that's the way I'm going to use it. So don't be afraid to go against the flow. It's all good. So when we put this down, I'm going to use this score line here as my measurement to put this down. I'm going to put it up to, but not over that line. It might be slightly in compared to this one. And then I'm going to make sure I get my border around this piece. Now, let's go ahead and add this piece. We cut this out previously. This is all ready. On the back side, we're going to add adhesive down on the sides, the two sides, and then right on that score line that we created as a guide. Oh, we're also going to need it on this side. You want to add your glue to the side that has the fold, not where it's open. So adding glue to 3 sides and down the middle. You're going to place it right next to our score line on the inside. Up to, but not over. You should make a song out of that. And the sides should match nice and smooth. Then we end up with a pocket here and a pocket there. Here, here. What's nice is that if you're giving this as a gift and you have that little line there, then they'll understand, right? That you can put just a photo there or here, or you could put a long photo there, however you want to do it. On the front, I used 2 3x4 journal cards, like this. My mats for these are 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Let's go ahead and put them down. For this side, we have another one of these, and it is going to be the same measurement as the one that we put down here. As a refresher, that was 4 5/8 by 4 3/8 and 4 1/2 by 4 1/4. Okay, now we're on the last piece here. The mat measures 4 5/8 by 4 3/8. The back pocket piece measures 4 1/2 by 2 1/2. So this came from a 6x4 journal card in the collection. I cut the top part of it off just so I could have the snowman. I think it said warm winter on it or something like that down below. I just wanted the snowman. So this measures 4 1/2 by 1 7/8, and that will be the front of our pocket. So I think I'm going to put this together first and then we'll put it on. We're going to glue this on 3 sides to make it a pocket. Okay, now the way that this one will work is that we will put a tag in here to be the closure. Okay, we are now at the stage where we are going to be adding our pages into our album cover. So I have my 3 pages, I have my album cover, and what I did, because that's just me, is I used my ruler to go along. I made a little tick mark at the 1/2 inch spot. And then I turned my ruler around and I measured down 1/4 of an inch and made another tick mark so that I know where to place my first page. I did it at the top and at the bottom. You don't have to do that. You can just guess and put it down. That's fine. It's just that that's not what I like to do. So when I'm using the L hinges, I typically just use wet adhesive, where when I'm using the other hinges, I normally use score tape. Okay, so I don't know if my camera cut out or what happened, but I put my first page down and it didn't get filmed. So all I did to put this down is the same thing I'm going to do with the next 2 pages, so at least you'll be able to see that. But with the guides there, it helped me to know exactly how far to go in on my spine, because I put spacing here to allow for the front cover and the front page to have room. Oh my goodness. It is quite full with the with the shaker. Oh, wheel. Yeah. So this one stays elevated, so that means the next 2 are going to be a little elevated too because of the shaker piece. So if you don't want all that bulkiness, don't use the shaker. Anyhow, what the what? Hold on, let's see. All right. To insert your pages into your album, you add adhesive to the back side of the 1/2 inch hinge. When you're putting your first one down, use the guides that you put down or just place it down and eyeball it. For the second page, you take it and butt it up against the page you already put down. So I'm going to take the edge of this hinge here, line it up with the edge of this hinge, and put that down. You want to make sure that they line up. This should all be lined up. See how they're lined up here at the top? Do the same at the bottom. And it should be lined up all the way down. Okay. Flip it over and burnish really good. For our last page, most of our L hinges are going like an L, straight down and then to the right. We're going to turn this the opposite direction so that the L is now backward, straight down to the left. So I'm going to re-fold on my score lines just to make sure they're trained in that direction. We'll be adding our adhesive to the outside of the 1/2 inch hinge, and we're going to be placing this one on top of the hinge that we just put down. So instead of butting it up and putting it next to it, we want to put it on top. Now when you put it on your top, you want to make sure that you go up to the score line or the fold, right? But don't go over it. And then that will give you a nice 1/2 inch on spacing on this side. And that's what you want. 1/2 inch spacing here and here. Okay, I'm just putting it on top of the one that's already there, lining everything up. It doesn't go over the score line there. You can always check it to make sure. And then burnish that down really good. That's this is the perfect tool for getting in between the pages. Like I can do it with this one, but it's square and seems a little awkward. This is perfect. Okay, so then you have your 1/2 inch area here. Now I did get some glue there, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm gonna put down some pattern paper back here as well. So let's see. Yeah, this is a full album. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a very full album once you get your goods in there. It's gonna be pretty full. And that's how you put the album together. The next thing that I'm going to do is add some pattern paper in between my pages to pretty those up. I'm going to be adding tags into the rest of the album. I think what I'll do is just come back and give you the measurements of the tags and everything that I put in there, and then that will be the album. So if you wanted to just do that part on your own, you can. I thank you for joining me this far. But that'll be the next part of this video. Yeah, I'm loving this. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through and give you the measurements for the tags that I used in case you're interested. So this tag measures 3 1/8 by 6 1/4. I just added stickers on that one. I wanted a nice tall tag for this area. For most of the spots, what I ended up doing was using the Heartfelt's album tags and accents again. This tag set here, which is the largest one. And as I mentioned, I got that from Country Craft Creations. I don't know if they still have this because Heartfelt Creations is going out of business. So really any tag will do. The base size is 3 3/4, and the height is close to 5 7/8. So that'll give you a nice measurement in case you don't have that die. I put in one of the journal cards here. Now, some of this you will have seen in the video already, but I just thought I'd come back through it. Here's one where I just added, I cut the inner part of the die. There's 2 dies, a larger one and then the matte. I cut the matte piece out twice and glued them together. Couldn't make up my mind if I wanted black behind here or white, so I ended up going with the white on top. But you could put a photo here, you could journal here, you know, it's still usable. This is the same size as the first tag that I gave you. And then I created 2 tags that are 3 1/8 by 4 and, well, it's 4 13/16 actually. But you could probably go to, I had to go smaller because of the pocket. If I could make this 4 3/4, but then it would be level with the page, and I just found it harder to get it out. So I made it to where it was just slightly above the page so that I could easily pull it out. So that's why you get that odd measurement. So both of these are the same. Okay, over here I did the same thing. I did the black with the white. I kind of like that. It's kind of neat. And then this is also the same. So this is the large one, and then this is the smaller one. So here, this gives you a good idea of what it looks like if you mat it. But I just did the one side on that one, double on this one. On this, I used 3x4 color cardstock that I had in my stash. Well, part of this stash. And then I just took a scrap piece and glued it on 3 sides, made it a side tuck. This was 1 1/4 by, again, it's an odd measurement, about 3 7/8. But I think that's kind of cute. And it was just really made with scraps. Everything here is scraps. And I just put a little sticker on that. But those were all scrap pieces. Very fun. Here's a little tag that I included. This is 2 1/8 by 4. This is perfect to keep this closed. Now, on the inside, I have 2 tags. These are the same, that measure 3 1/8 by 4 1/2. And when I put the tag on top of where the magnet was, then it would no longer work at all. So I definitely advise you to put your magnet further down on this flap and to put it underneath the top pattern papers and not down below. Then it will keep it closed. Maybe up here would probably be your best bet. It just gets a little bulky, so I don't know. So because my magnet no longer worked, this tag kept this part closed, which is good. But then these little doors kept flipping open. So what I ended up doing was creating this little mechanism. Page lock is what I'm calling it, or tab lock. And it looks like an M or an E. I've actually done this before where I've created a smaller one. Did it by hand. And I will have this as a Cricut file and SVG file in case you're interested. There'll even be a template for that as well. But what you do is these little legs go into the pockets and the larger piece goes on the top of these 2 areas. See, these are the ones that kept flapping open. So even when you go like this, they kind of just flip right out. I put a score line right at the top of the M or E, and then I went over and did another score line 1/8 of an inch over, and then folded that. So these little leggies go into the pocket, and this part goes out over the 2 areas that flap open. And it keeps it closed, see? Fantastic. And that's it. That's all of the tags. Oh no, on the back I did another one of those. And I actually left this one open so you could tuck something in there. Oh, I guess I forgot to glue the bottom. But it'll still work. So that's all the tags, and that is the tutorial. I hope that you have enjoyed this. Please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your feedback. I had a lot of fun creating this one. It was great to incorporate the mixed media. And oh my gosh, this is such a chunky monkey. I'm loving it. And before we go, I just wanted to mention that I created exclusive memberships in my Ko-fi shop. There are 2 tiers currently. One is the pink scissors tier, and the second is the golden scissors. Now, the pink scissors will allow you to receive the cutting guides for at least one of my projects that I released each month, as well as some other goodies. You can go out to the website, and I'll have that link down below in the description box for you to check out all the details. The golden scissors tier, you'll receive the cutting guide as well as any cutting files and patterns that may go along with that project. And of course, there's also more in that one as well. Please take a moment to check them out. I think this would be a lot of fun and a great way for us to connect and for you to always have what you need to create my projects. Thanks a lot for joining me, everyone, and I'll see you next time.